At the funeral of Thomas Braxton, a wealthy and respected man, the mood was heavy, but not just with sadness. There was tension in the air. His wife, Carla, sat quietly in the front row, dressed in black, her face pale and tired. Next to her sat their only child, Eli, a young man in his early 20s. He looked lost, his hands shaking as he held the church program. They were both grieving deeply. Just as the final song started, the doors of the church opened. Everyone turned to look. Danielle Braxton, Thomas's sister-in-law, walked in late. She wore a tight, stylish black dress and bright red lipstick. She didn't look sad at all. She looked confident, even proud. Carla's eyes followed her sharply. She had never trusted Danielle. After the burial, close family and friends were invited to a law office for the reading of Thomas's will. Carla and Eli sat quietly in the meeting room, still trying to process their loss. But then, to everyone's surprise, Danielle showed up again. "You shouldn't be here," Carla said, keeping her voice calm but firm. Danielle smiled. "I was there for him when you weren't. He wanted me here." Eli stood up, angry. "Leave." Before things got worse, the family lawyer, Miles Carter, opened a folder and began reading. "This is the last will of Thomas Braxton." Carla held her breath. "I leave the Braxton house, my company shares, and $1.5 million to Danielle Braxton." The room went completely silent. Carla stared at Miles, confused. "What did you just say?" Miles looked down at the paper again. "To Carla and Eli Braxton. I leave the remaining part of my estate, not including the house or company shares." Carla stood up, shocked. "That can't be right. Thomas would never do that." Danielle leaned back in her chair, calm and collected. "He told me he trusted me more than anyone. I didn't ask for this, but he insisted." Eli's face turned red. "This is a joke. My dad wouldn't leave our house to you." Danielle gave a small shrug. "But he did. You all heard it." Miles added quietly, "This will was signed 2 weeks before Mr. Braxton died." Carla felt like the ground was moving beneath her. Her heart pounded. None of it made sense. Her husband loved her. He loved their son. He wouldn't leave everything to Danielle. She looked across the table and met Danielle's eyes. Something was off. Danielle just gave her a slow, smug smile. "Carla has always been loyal. To her marriage, to the family, to her late husband's legacy. She ran the home while Thomas built the business. She raised their son, managed their home, and stood by Thomas through good times and bad. He wasn't a perfect man. He worked too much, kept secrets sometimes, and could be cold when stressed. But Carla believed they were a team. They built their life together, from the ground up. She never expected anything but love and respect in return. Now, just weeks after his death, she's being treated like a stranger in her own home." The house was quiet that morning. Too quiet. Carla walked through the halls of the Braxton estate, a house she had decorated, cleaned, and turned into a home. But now it felt like it didn't belong to her anymore. Everywhere she looked, she saw Thomas. His books, his chair, the tie he left hanging behind the bedroom door. But the will said this place now belonged to Danielle. Carla sat in the kitchen, staring at her untouched coffee. Her mind raced. Why would Thomas leave her with nothing but scraps? Why would he give the house, her home, to Danielle of all people? Her phone buzzed. It was a message from her son, Eli. "Mum, I'm coming home after class. Don't do anything until I get there." Eli was everything to Carla. Bright, caring, and fiercely protective of her. He was in law school now, following in his father's footsteps. But this, the will, the betrayal, had shaken him. He didn't believe it either, and he didn't trust Danielle. Danielle had always been a problem, even before Thomas passed. She was Thomas's brother's widow, but she had been in Carla's life for nearly 2 decades. At family gatherings, she was all smiles and sweet talk, but Carla saw through her. The fake compliments, the sideways glances, the way Danielle always found a way to remind people that Carla had married into the Braxton family, while Danielle was born into it. Danielle was the type of woman who knew how to twist things to her advantage. She knew how to cry when it suited her, and how to play the victim. Carla often wondered if anyone else saw it, the manipulation, the envy behind her smile, but no one ever said anything, not even Thomas. Carla's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the doorbell. She opened the door to see Tanya, her longtime friend. "I came as soon as I heard," Tanya said, stepping inside. "Are you okay?" Carla shook her head. "Number, I'm not." They sat in the living room, and Carla told her everything about the will, the house, Danielle, about how she felt like she was being erased from her own life. Tanya didn't sugarcoat it. You need to get that will checked. Something's off, Carla. Thomas wouldn't do this to you, not unless someone pushed him or tricked him. Carla's eyes welled up. And if I fight it, I'll look greedy. The Braxton name will be dragged through the mud. His business could suffer. Eli's future could suffer. Tanya leaned in. So you're just going to let Danielle walk away with your house, with your life? Carla, no. That woman has always wanted what you had, and now she's taking it because she thinks you won't fight back. Carla stared down at her hands. They were shaking. She's not even blood, she whispered. And yet, she won. Tanya placed a hand over Carla's. Not yet, she hasn't. That night, Carla sat alone in Thomas's study. She opened drawers, looked through files, trying to understand what happened in those final weeks before he died. What changed? What did Danielle say or do to him? She found nothing, but she felt everything. The anger, the confusion, the deep sense of betrayal. Outside, the wind picked up. Rain tapped against the windows. Carla looked around the room, and for the first time, she didn't feel like a wife mourning her husband. She felt like a woman being pushed out of her own story, and something inside her woke up. She whispered to herself, no, this isn't over, not yet. Late one night, Carla sat alone in Thomas's study, the room still filled with his scent, leather, old books, and expensive cologne. She couldn't sleep. Her heart was heavy, her mind restless. Something didn't add up. The man she married, the man she knew, wouldn't leave her and Eli with next to nothing. She ran her fingers across the drawers of his desk, searching for something, anything, that could make sense of what had happened. Most drawers were already empty or neatly organized, but then her hand stopped on the bottom one. It was locked. She remembered the key. Thomas had kept a spare hidden in a hollowed-out book on the shelf. Her fingers trembled as she opened the book, pulled out the key, and unlocked the drawer. Inside, tucked beneath a stack of old bank papers, was a cream-colored envelope, slightly yellowed at the edges. Her name was written on the front in Thomas's handwriting. She opened it. Her breath caught in her throat. It was a copy of an older will, signed and dated 3 months before his death, long before Danielle had started showing up every day to help. In this will, Carla was clearly named as the sole owner of the house and all properties. Eli was named the full heir to Thomas's business shares and accounts. There was no mention of Danielle anywhere in the document. Carla sat back in the chair, stunned. Her hands were shaking, but her anger burned steady. So what was this new will they were reading? The one dated just 2 weeks before he died. She knew exactly who to confront. The next day, she requested a private meeting with Miles Carter, the family notary, and Thomas's old friend. When he opened the door to his office and saw the paper in Carla's hand, his face went pale. "Where did you get this?" he asked, slowly closing the blinds. "In Thomas's drawer," Carla said, watching him carefully. "You told us the other will was the only one. You lied." Miles ran a hand over his mouth. "I didn't lie. I only had one on file. This one, I've never seen it." "That's hard to believe," Carla replied coldly. "You were his friend, Miles. Why would Thomas trust you if you were going to betray him?" "I didn't," he snapped, then lowered his voice. "Look, this changes everything. We need to be careful. If this is real, it could make the new will invalid. Let me look into it." Carla narrowed her eyes. Why would he change it 2 weeks before his death and give everything to Danielle? Miles looked genuinely disturbed. "I don't know." Later that night, Carla got a message from him. "We need to meet, alone, tomorrow morning. There's more you need to know." But Miles never showed up. The next morning, news broke. Miles Carter had died in a car crash just hours after sending that message. The police called it an accident, brake failure. But something about it didn't sit right with Carla. Her blood ran cold. First the fake will, then Miles, the one person who might have known the truth, gone. She sat on her bed, staring at the photo of her and Thomas on their wedding day. Everything she had built, everything she had protected, was being ripped away. This was no longer just grief, no longer just confusion. This was war. Danielle had stolen more than a house. She had stolen Thomas's last wishes, and now, maybe even his life. Carla stood up, her jaw tight, her heart steady. She wasn't just going to fight for what was hers. She was going to uncover every lie, tear down every mask, And if Danielle thought she was going to win again, she was about to find out what happened when a woman had nothing left to lose. The stakes had changed. Now, it was about truth, justice, and taking her life back. Carla digs deeper into the timeline before Thomas's death. It started with a stack of bank alerts she hadn't looked at in weeks. She sat at Thomas's old laptop late one night, searching for patterns, receipts, emails, calendar entries, anything. That's when she found it. Danielle had been coming to the house almost daily in the last few weeks before Thomas died. While Carla had been away caring for her sick mother in Atlanta, Danielle had been slipping into her life, little by little. Security logs showed her entering the house at odd hours. She claimed it was to check on Thomas and bring him food, but the logs painted a different picture. She stayed late, sometimes overnight. She had access to the study, the safe, even Thomas's passwords. Carla's stomach turned as she clicked open a saved document, a folder marked legal. Inside were contact lists. One of the names made her pause. Miles Carter, the notary, Thomas's old friend. Danielle had emailed him too. Carla opened the message, dated just 12 days before Thomas died. Miles, Thomas is tired. He wants things taken care of fast. Let's keep this quiet. He doesn't want Carla overwhelmed. Carla felt the heat rise to her chest. He wouldn't have done this behind my back. She looked around the room, her room, and for the first time, it felt invaded, like every memory had been touched by someone else's hand. The next evening, Carla and Eli were invited to a Braxton family dinner. Danielle hosted it in Thomas's name. Just a simple gathering, she said, but the air was tense before the food even hit the table. Eli sat stiffly across from Danielle, jaw clenched. Carla tried to keep him calm with a look, but it was no use. Midway through the meal, Danielle raised a glass. To Thomas, who always knew who really stood by him, even when the world didn't. That did it. Eli slammed his glass down. You think you fooled everyone? The table went silent. You think Dad suddenly changed everything because he loved you like family? He hissed. He barely trusted you. And now you own our house? Danielle tilted her head, still calm, still smiling. Your father made choices, Eli. Maybe not the ones you liked, but maybe he saw through things. Maybe he finally saw who was there at the end. Her words were smooth, but her tone held weight, like she was daring Carla to say something. Carla didn't bite, not yet, but Eli stood and walked out. Danielle sighed, eyes following him. Grief makes people emotional. I understand. Carla didn't speak the rest of the evening. She just watched, studied, and promised herself Danielle wasn't going to win. The next day, Carla met with Renee Oduale, a sharp young lawyer recommended by Tanya. Renee was direct, bold, and didn't talk down to Carla like others had. You don't need to convince me something's off, Renee said, flipping through the documents Carla brought. But we need proof. Legal proof. Carla handed her both wills. Renee's eyes scanned the signatures, the stamps, the timeline. We'll get a handwriting analyst. If that signature's fake, we'll know. That afternoon, Renee connected with a forgery expert. Within 48 hours, they had a preliminary opinion. The newer signature on the second will was suspicious. It lacked natural flow, looked rushed, possibly even traced. Carla's chest tightened with hope, but just as quickly, things began to unravel again. 2 days later, a headline hit a local blog. Widow can't let go, tries to overturn husband's dying wishes. It featured a blurry photo of Carla at the lawyer's office. The story painted her as greedy, bitter, a desperate woman, unable to accept the truth. Danielle's fingerprints were all over it. Phone calls stopped. Neighbors avoided her eyes. A charity she'd helped run quietly removed her name from the board. Even Tanya kept her distance, calling less, texting in short replies. Carla felt the world closing in. Meanwhile, Eli was falling apart. He started skipping classes, got into an argument with a professor, came home one night with a busted lip, said it was from some jerk talking trash. Carla tried to talk to him, but he shut down. She's ruining us, he finally said, fists clenched. And nobody cares. Carla hugged him tight, but inside, her heart cracked. Her son, once so steady, was unraveling under the pressure. And then came the hardest blow. Carla was organizing Thomas's files again when she came across a voicemail, one she had never heard. It had been saved under a folder labeled personal. It was Thomas's voice. Carla, I think someone's trying to manipulate me. I don't know what's real anymore. We need to talk. As soon as you get back, please. The message was dated the day before he died. Carla dropped the phone, her knees weak. He had known. He was scared. And he wanted to talk, but never got the chance. Tears rolled down her face as her anger hardened into something else. No more waiting, no more doubting. Thomas had been reaching for her, and now she would reach back with the truth. Danielle is smug. Her lawyer is aggressive. The judge seems skeptical of Carla's claims. The courtroom is tense, cold. Every seat is filled. Whispers pass between reporters and relatives like wildfire. Danielle sits confidently at the defense table in a sleek black dress, her red lipstick perfect. She glances at Carla with a smirk, like she's already won. Her lawyer, a sharp-tongued man named Brent Harlow, wastes no time painting Carla as a bitter widow chasing ghosts. Your Honor, Brent says, pacing. This is nothing more than a woman unable to accept her husband's final wishes. There is no evidence of forgery, no crime, just suspicion fueled by grief. Carla stays quiet, hands clasped. Renee stands beside her, calm but fierce. Then it's Renee's turn. She lays out the timeline, Thomas's 2 wills, the mysterious changes, the deleted security footage, and Miles Carter's sudden death. The judge listens, but doesn't seem convinced, until Renee clears her throat. Your Honor, she says, I'd like to call an unlisted witness. James Everett, a man in his late 30s, steps up. Jeans, button-down shirt, nervous but steady. He swears in, then takes the stand. I work in computer and device recovery, James explains. 2 weeks before Mr. Braxton's death, I got a call from a woman named Danielle Braxton. She brought in a damaged laptop and said it was urgent. She wanted it wiped clean, said it had sensitive health files. Thomas didn't want seen. Danielle shifts in her seat. I thought it was strange, James continues, especially because the files weren't health-related. They were emails between Mr. Braxton and his notary, Miles Carter, and a video file he'd recorded the night before his death. Renee leans in. Did you delete the files? I made a copy first, James says, pulling a USB from his coat pocket. Something didn't feel right. Gasps echo as Renee plays the video on the courtroom screen. There's Thomas, pale but alert, sitting at his desk. His voice is clear. If anything happens to me, Danielle Braxton had no right to any of my estate. Carla and Eli, they are my only family. Danielle has tried to push me, confuse me, and I don't trust her. I told Miles to hold off on any updates. Danielle's face goes white. Her lips tremble. Brent Harlow quickly objects, but the judge silences him with a raised hand. I want to hear the rest. The video ends with Thomas's voice shaking. If I die, something's wrong. Silence. Thick. Electric. The judge turns to Danielle. Ms. Braxton, care to explain? Before Danielle can answer, a man stands up in the back, Jonas Keyes, a private investigator Renee hired. Your Honor, I also have something to submit. My team examined the car Miles Carter was driving the night he died. Brake lines were cut. We found Danielle Braxton's fingerprints on the hood and a torn glove in a nearby trash bin. DNA confirms it belongs to her. Danielle tries to stand. This is ridiculous. 2 bailiffs step forward. The judge raises his voice. Danielle Braxton, you are under investigation for fraud, obstruction, and possible involvement in the death of Miles Carter. As they cuff her, Danielle screams, You don't understand. Thomas was going to leave her anyway. He told me. But no one listens. The courtroom is frozen. Carla holds her breath. Eli, sitting behind her, grips her hand tightly. And for the first time since the funeral, Carla feels something deep and quiet rise in her chest. Victory. Not loud, not angry, just truth finally rising. Carla regains full ownership of the estate. The court voids the altered will. Danielle is led away in handcuffs, her carefully constructed lies crumbling in front of everyone. She's charged with fraud, obstruction of justice, and is under investigation for her possible role in Miles Carter's death. For Carla, it isn't about revenge anymore. It's about finally being heard and restoring what was stolen. 3 weeks later, she signs the final papers at the courthouse. Her name is officially reinstated as the sole heir of the Braxton estate. Eli is by her side, his hand over hers as she signs. He smiles for the first time in weeks. I'm proud of you, Mom, he says quietly. Carla smiles back, her eyes misty. I'm proud of us. That night, she walks through the mansion one last time. The house feels quieter now, not haunted, but still, peaceful. The grand staircase, the polished floors, the walls lined with old photos. It had once been a symbol of everything she and Thomas built, but now it's a chapter she's ready to close. She walks into Thomas's study and runs her fingers across the edge of the desk. So much had happened here. Lies, love, secrets, truth. She whispers softly, "You were trying to protect us." "I know that now," she exhales, calm. 2 months later, Carla moves into a smaller home on the outskirts of the city. It's warm, with sunlight pouring into the kitchen and a cozy garden out back. It's not flashy, not a mansion, but it's hers, chosen, not inherited. She redecorates from scratch, paints the walls herself, plants roses in the yard, something she never had time for before. Eli returns to law school. With his father's name cleared and the truth restored, he finds purpose again. He tells Carla he wants to specialize in estate law, so no one goes through what we did. Carla smiles, proud. Then quietly, she launches the Thomas Braxton Foundation for Ethical Advocacy, a non-profit focused on supporting families who face legal manipulation, forged wills, and inheritance fraud. People start reaching out, survivors, widows, siblings, thanking her for speaking out. The pain she lived through becomes a path for others to heal. One afternoon, Carla returns to the old mansion before the new buyers move in. She walks through each room slowly, her heels echoing off the bare floors. She reaches the front door, then pauses, looking back. And then she says, "I thought I lost everything, but I didn't. I lost what was taken. Then I took back the truth. And somewhere in the middle of all that pain, I found myself." She steps outside. The door closes behind her, and this time, it stays closed. Carla visits Miles's grave, leaving a white rose and a note that reads, "Thank you for trying to do the right thing." As she walks away, she gets a call from Renee. "We just got our first grant. Your foundation's real now." Carla smiles for the first time in a long while. It's time to build something no one can take away. Thanks for watching till the end. Your support means the world to us. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful dramas like this. There's always a lesson in the pain. Never let silence bury the truth. Keep watching. Check out the videos on your screen now for more emotional stories that stay with you.